James here from goodguitarist.com, and in today's lesson I'm going to show you how to play Take Me Home Country Roads by John Denver. And I'm going to show you how to play this song in two ways. I'm going to show you how to strum through it, so just chords and strumming, and then I'm going to show you how to use a simple finger picking pattern instead. For the most part, this song uses the most common chord progression ever, G, E minor, C, D. If you learn that chord progression, like if you're just getting started and you learn that chord progression, you're going to be able to literally play hundreds of thousands of songs. And if you get a capo, you can capo up your guitar and you can play even more. And speaking of the capo, in the demonstration at the beginning of this video, you might have noticed that I had a capo on the 2nd fret because that's what they do on the original recording. They put a capo on the 2nd fret and then their G chord sounds like an A, C sounds like a D, and so forth. But for this lesson, I'm not going to be using a capo. So you're going to be able to play along without a capo. And if you want to play along with the original recording, put a capo on the 2nd fret and that's it. To play the verse, we need 4 chord shapes. The first one is a G chord. From there, we switch to E minor. And you might have noticed that when I was switching from G to E minor, I could leave my first finger down. That's a really good tip. It makes it a lot easier. You know, just practice that a little bit. Then we have a D chord. And a C chord. Now, if you need help with those chord shapes, I have 2 resources for that. There's my free ebook, which shows you all the diagrams and chord switching tips and everything you need to get started. But if you want the full journey, you know, the guided tour through all the basics, I also have a premium course, and there's links to both of those down below. So check that out if you need any help along the way, if you find anything in this lesson is giving you trouble. Otherwise, we're going to move on and practice switching through the chords. We're just going to do downstrokes only. We're not going to overcomplicate anything. We want to focus on our chord switching hand and making nice, clean switches and counting along so that we can learn to keep our place in the music. You know, you don't want to switch to the next chord too soon or too late. We want to learn how many times to strum each chord. So we're starting off on a G chord. I'm going to count us in nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. West Virginia. It's a bit different here. Just 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we start again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Now, for the most part, that was 4 strums per chord, but you might have noticed that when we got to the C chord, the counting got a little bit different. The first time we get to the C chord, we do the C chord 2 times, and it's followed by G 4 times before we restart the whole thing. And the second time we get to the C chord, it's the C chord 2 times and the G chord 2 times. So just take a look at that on the screen right now and just see if that makes sense to you. You know, you can just count it out. You could always rewind and try it again. Now that you know that, I recommend rewinding until you can just flawlessly play through downstrokes only with those chords. Because now we're going to take a look at the strumming pattern, and then after that, we're going to take a look at the finger picking pattern. Anyways, the strumming pattern that we're going to use goes like this. I'll do it a little bit slower now. 3 and 4 and. And that is the most common strumming pattern in the universe. Down, down, up, down, up. I'm still surprised at how many songs use the strumming pattern. Whenever I'm transcribing new tunes and I'm like, oh, this one will have a different, no, it's the same one. So if you're having trouble with that, it's in my ebook, but let's just go over it right now as well. We're gonna split it up into 2 parts. The first part goes like this. Down, down, up. So if you just wave your arm as you go, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, down, up. So my arm's moving like a metronome. Down, down, up. Down, down, up. Down, down, up. And I'm exaggerating the motion a bit, but when I'm playing, my arm is always going down and up steadily, and that's what keeps me in time. It's like a it's like a trick, you know, that just helps you stay in time and keep a steady rhythm. So I really recommend practicing just counting slowly as you do that. And once you have that first bit down, second half is miss, up, down, up. So we go miss on the downstroke, miss, up, down, up. Miss, up, down, up. 1 and 2 and miss, up, down, up. 1 and 2 and miss, up, down, up. And once you get used to both of those halves, you glue it together super slowly but steadily. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and miss, up, down, up. Again and 2 and miss, up, down, up. 1 and 2 and miss, up, down, up. And if you're still having trouble with rhythm, I do recommend taking a look at my premium course, because there's a whole chapter dedicated to rhythm. It starts with clapping exercises and things to like build up your internal rhythm, and it'll really get you to the point where this stuff does seem easy. Because, you know, this isn't the easiest strumming pattern, but it's not the hardest one. You know, it gets a lot harder. And if you're having trouble with this, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just because you haven't approached it the right way. You haven't learned the difference between rhythm and coordination. You know, rhythm's something you feel, and coordination is your ability to do down and up strokes. And you're probably focusing on the coordination part a lot, overlooking the rhythm part. So I have a beginner guitar challenge actually that addresses all of that, and it's free. I'll put a link to that down below as well. Now, when we put this strumming pattern together with the chords, we're gonna do it 2 times on G, 2 times on E minor, 2 times on D. Then we get to that C. Remember how the C only had 2 downstrokes and then it was followed by the G with 4 downstrokes? Well, every 2 downstrokes equals 1 strumming pattern. So we do the strumming pattern once on C, then it's followed by a G that has 4 beats, so we do it twice. So all you have to remember basically is for every 2 of those slashes, you're doing your strumming pattern once. And this shouldn't be a big issue. If you still don't get what I'm talking about, just watch me play it. I'm gonna play through the verse with the strumming pattern, and you're welcome to play along, or you can just watch it and see what's going on, and then always just rewind the video and try it again. Anyways, here we go, nice and slow. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, straight life is old there. So that's how you strum the tune. Let's take a look at the finger picking now, which is actually quite simple. I'm gonna start off on a G chord. And there's just 4 motions to this whole pattern. So we're gonna start off by placing our fingers. We're gonna put our thumb on the lowest string. We're gonna put our middle finger on the thinnest, on the highest string, and then our index on the next one, on the B string. We start off by plucking the lowest string, then we go first finger, then we move our thumb over to the G string, and then we pluck with our middle finger. So I'll show you really slowly. So for G and E minor, it's the same. Now for the D chord, our thumb has to move a bit. The lowest string is now the D string, but otherwise the rest of it's the same. So we go. So D string, this is the same for the rest of it. And then the C chord, our thumb has to be on the A string. And our thumb is just following the roots of each chord. You know, the root of G is right there, the root of E minor is right there, the root of D is right there, and the root of C is right there. So that's it. We do those 4 motions of the picking pattern. That equals 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we would move on to the next chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's pretty simple. Let's just try playing that together now, nice and slow. You can always watch it, rewind it, you know, do that whole thing. Here we go. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, of blue water. Life is old there to remember me. All right, so at this point, whether you're strumming or fingerpicking this song, all we have to do now is figure out the chorus and the bridge. Now, the cool thing about the chorus uses the exact same chords as the verse, just in a little bit of a different order. So we start off on our G chord, starts off on the same one. Then we go to D, then E minor, then C, then G, D, C, G. Now, if you haven't memorized that, no worries. That's what play-alongs are for. We're gonna play through this in order. You're gonna try it a few times. You can always write down the chord changes. I'm showing them on the screen right now. You could write those down and then you have the chord order. And a couple chord switching tips here. We're gonna be going from G to D. And for that, I leave my ring finger down, my 3rd finger. Just try that. Makes it a lot easier. And then we're gonna go from E minor to C. I leave my middle finger down. You know, it makes it a lot easier whenever you have little tricks like that. And if you wanna know all those tricks, I have them in my premium course, linked down below. And when we add the strumming pattern, it's gonna be 2 times per each chord. There's no funny things with counting out the chords. It's actually a lot simpler than the verse. So we've done probably the hardest part already. This point, we're just doing the strumming pattern 2 times on each chord shape. Let's try it. You can always rewind it and try it as many times as you need to in order to memorize the chord order. So here we go, starting off on that G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Take the next part, the bridge, we need a new chord shape for it. We need the F chord. And you can play F as a bar chord like this. That's obviously going to be the best choice, but that's kind of tricky, especially if you're just getting started. So I have an alternative for you. It's the 4-finger grip. Sounds pretty good, like comparing the two, it's almost the same. Now, to make it, we skip the 1st string, then we go on the 1st fret of the next one, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, and 3rd fret. So skip 1, 2, 3, 3, and you'll notice I have my pinky on that one, my ring. Getting up nice and close to the frets. Put my thumb over the top just to mute that string. The highest string is muted by the underside of my 1st finger. And that chord is going to come after an E minor chord. So I recommend going E minor into that chord just so you can work your way into it. And then afterwards, we're playing a C chord. And going from this shape into a C is super easy. You know, I can just leave these 2 fingers down and make my C chord. So I recommend trying that before we get started with playing it with the strumming pattern and all that. Now, as far as counting out how many times to do each chord for, remember how I mentioned that when we're doing the strumming pattern, every 2 slashes equals 1 strumming pattern. And when we're doing the finger picking pattern, every 1 slash equals those 4 motions. So keep that in mind. Just watch this section because there's some chords that'll just have 1 strumming pattern, some will have 2. There's no real pattern to it. You just have to kind of watch it, memorize it. I'll put it up on the screen right now so you can kind of see it. You could even write it down if you want, or press print screen if you're on a PC. Either way, we're gonna play this super duper slowly, just like the rest of it, starting off on an E minor chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hear her fall in the moment as she calls me. Here comes that F chord. Down, 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 down. Been home yesterday. Country roads. And then we would go into the chorus. So that's it, that's the whole song. And like I said before, if you want to play with the original recording, you just put a capo on the 2nd fret. And there's no surprises. We've learned every single part. All you have to do now is be able to go from the verse into the chorus, then back into the verse, back into the chorus, then into the bridge, then into the chorus a couple times. And that's it. You're just taking these sections and then you're putting them one after another. And that's why I always recommend playing along with the original recording, because that'll teach you how to put the song all together, and then it'll let you make sure that you're doing it right. Before I make one of these tutorials, I obviously play along with the entire recording just so there's no surprises. I don't want to leave any parts out. Anyways, if you need any extra help with this stuff, remember I have 3 resources. There's my free ebook, there's my beginner challenge, and then there's my premium guitar course, which goes over pretty much everything. Master the basics, that's what they say. All in all, I hope you have a good time practicing, and I'll see you soon.